Oh, and we're live.
I know. Okay. So just to check, everyone, if you guys can hear us and see us okay, say hi. You guys have been checking your attendance way before we started, and I was telling that to Sketches.n.Scrubs. You are live. Thank you, Anya. Anya's in the chat. Hello. Okay, we've got the messy desk. Elizabeth in the chat. All right, so I think we are officially live. So
Okay,
yay.
perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you, a special thank you to Etchr for inviting me, obviously.
Thank you as well for gracing us for this 12 days of Etchr. So this is part of, for those who are new here, hello. And this is part of our 12 days of Etchr celebration. And if you don't know that, go ahead and visit our Instagram or Facebook. Our Instagram is at Etchr_lab. So 12 days of Etchr is currently running up until December 20th, where we do community events like this one, where we are doing a free demo with our Etchr's UK ambassador. So Sketches.n.Scrubs. Oops, wrong direction. And in the next few days, we're going to be giving away, which brings me to stick till the end, because we're also doing a giveaway at the end for you to get a chance to win a voucher from Etchr, and also the piece that Sketches.n.Scrubs will be doing today. So we've got the Sketches Discord group active in the chat, so I won't keep you waiting. Sketches.n.Scrubs, tell us what we're going to be doing today and get started. Woohoo!
Thank you. Yeah, so again, thank you so much for inviting me on, and thank you to everyone who's joining. It's so nice to see like very familiar faces. Just in terms of what we're going to be doing, we're going to be creating some a mixed media landscape. I want to kind of emphasize the point that when it comes to creating mixed media, it's not like you need to use very specific supplies. So it doesn't matter whether you have watercolors or gouache, pencils or crayons, whatever you have, the whole point and the whole beauty of mixed media is that you can use them all or none, or well, not none, but use them all, 1, 2, 3, however many supplies you want. Use the strengths of these supplies to create artwork that you like. And I know that sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming because in theory, there are so many supplies that you could use. So I thought that it would be nice if we just kind of like went through it together with one of my landscapes, basically. So just to show you like a couple of examples, as you can see, I've been sticking to the theme of winter because obviously it's winter, apart from this one that was a little bit more autumnal and quite fun and cute. But all of these I've either created with like using watercolors or using gouache or using a range of different art supplies. So if you have your art supplies to hand, then feel free to join in. So I am using, I should probably show you this. I am using Etchr's watercolor paper block, which has Anya Marcus's beautiful artwork at the front. It's 9 by 12 inches, 100% cotton, has 20 sheets, 350 GSM. So it's relatively big. So I am going to be trying to move a bit quicker just to make sure that we actually finish on time, because I was kidding, but I'm not really kidding about the fact that I'm not really known for my punctuality. But in terms of like other examples of like mixed media pieces, here are some, and these are in my Etchr Everyday Sketchbook. So again, how I've done these, sometimes I use references, sometimes I don't. For these ones, I haven't. I'm going to be using, I guess, my artwork in part as inspiration and some reference. So I'm going to be recreating maybe like a bit of a bigger version of this piece. So I'll put it here so that you can see it as well. Again, kind of sticking to that wintry theme. And if you have questions at any point, by all means, please feel free to ask and I will answer. So I'm going to start off by just pre-wetting the paper. That just makes it easy for me because I'm going to be starting off with watercolor. I like starting with watercolor because it's easy to layer on top of it. So pretty much almost anything will go on top of it, which gives us lots of, opportunity for layering and for getting some really cool effects. Now, other things that you may want to use might be gouache or maybe like Tombows or Ecolines. They're also really easy to layer on top of as well. So now that I've got that nice and wet, it means that when we put the paint down, we can work wet on wet, which basically means that we're putting wet paint on wet paper, and that will give us some really nice, gentle blends. Watercolors first, yeah. Now, if anyone's painting along, by all means, and you manage to also be able to paint along and type, then feel free to let me know that is, that you're joining in as well. So I'm going to start off with pink first, and I'm just putting down, gentle brush strokes. Because the paper is wet, even though that's quite intense, it will diffuse a little bit, so it won't be quite as bold and striking. And that means that if I want something to, if I want to make it a bit bolder later on, I can just come in and add another layer. And then I'm bringing in a little bit of gold. It's funny because what I was talking about with my members is the fact that I want to do winter landscapes, yes, but I also want them to be like happy and cheerful, which is why I pick colors that are perhaps a little bit more exaggerated when depicting like these snowy landscape scenes. Messy Desk is doing an ink painting. You're going to paint along. That's awesome. If you do, and feel free to share it with me as well afterwards, because I love seeing what everyone creates. It's really nice.
This water that you've sprayed on top, that wasn't too wet, right? It was just like a sheen.
Yes, exactly.
Someone said candy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like a sheen, and even then the paper, depending on your climate, it might start to dry. So enough to kind of have the paper kind of glisten, but not enough for it to bead up and roll down. You can see nothing is really dripping as it's doing. And the bottom has probably already started to dry, but that's okay. We can add more. I just really like the way these colors work together. And the beauty of this is that what we're doing at the top will be reflected in a way at the bottom in the snow itself, only that because I'm trying to depict snow, I'm going to leave even more white space, which means that I'm not going to paint absolutely everything. I'm going to leave lots of spaces kind of undisturbed so that it looks like a snowy scene at sunset. I'm using a flat brush that I bought for £1, the equivalent of $1. But the key thing is, use what you have to hand and use what you enjoy. That's one of the things that I've been trying to get a bit better at, just using the supplies that I've been keeping to the side for way too long, or supplies that perhaps I was telling myself oh no, not yet, I need to get a bit better, get better. I don't know if anyone else does that.
Yeah, I think we can all relate. We have that one or many art materials which we don't think we deserve to actually use.
I certainly, I definitely relate with that. I quite often will delay it for as long as possible, thinking okay, once my skills are way better, then I will use it. But there's something so nice about just using things that you enjoy. So now that it's still all kind of damp, I'm not going to add much more to the snow at the moment. I'm just going a little bit above the horizon, maybe 2/3 up the page, and I'm just going to drop in a few colors here to kind of represent, I guess, hills or maybe trees that would be in the background. I'm using colors like Quin Magenta, so like a pinky red, and then I'm also using I was using a golding yellow, which is Quin Gold. And I have also mixed the purple by using like an ultramarine blue and mixing that same Quin Magenta that I had into it. So at the moment, this painting has only has 3 colors, and it may be that I don't actually use many more colors than that at the moment. And I'm trying to think about where I'm going to leave the little houses, so I'm not filling everything. Now, because it's wet, you can see that it's all kind of moving by itself, but it's kind of nice because watercolor can kind of do the work for you, basically. Although sometimes it goes out of control. so we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is. I did tape the edges. Sorry, it's not necessary, but I quite like I like having white borders around my artwork.
It's always like that, what do you call this? Rewarding feeling after you peel the tape off, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like it makes it look even better. Just dropping in a little bit more pink. And sometimes if it's moving too much, what I'm just doing is adding slightly thicker paint so it doesn't move quite as much. And I will probably leave that and see how that dries. And just add, now I'm taking my brush and I'm just going to swipe it across like this, because although I don't mind the paint moving up because it looks tree-like, I don't want it to be moving down that same way because that's not what it would look like on the snow. So by swiping it across, it starts making it look a little bit more like actual snow, like ground, basically. And you can do this with any shape brush that you have to hand. I've just really been liking using, different shape brushes at the moment. And as you can see, I put lots of water, lots and lots and lots of water. Are there any questions that I'm missing, or?
So far, there isn't, but people are telling stories about their hometowns, how there's snow where they live. Can't imagine the 8 inches of snow, by the way. DC Sly? Is that how I read it? Really interesting, but I can't imagine how the full moon would create such a majestic, wonderful scene at night. So if you're thinking of doing that as a postcard, that might be a good idea too.
I'm just using a piece of tissue to dab off some of that excess water from the bottom bit, the bit that I was saying that's like my horizon line.
Right.
We haven't had any snow. I kind of wish. Well, that's the thing. I always wish that we do, in theory, because I like fresh snow. I just don't like the aftermath. I can't imagine 8 inches.
Yeah, that does look majestic. Diamonds in the snow, says Virginia.
So I'm going to dry this with my heat tool. In theory, this isn't something that you would have to do. I'm just doing it for the sake of time for the live stream. In fact, some people actually prefer to just let the watercolors dry themselves, especially if you're using granulating colors, because then there can be some really cool effects. But I don't want you guys to remember this live stream as you watching paint dry. So I'm just going to mute myself for like 2 seconds and then dry it.
Okay, and I think, yep, we are muted. All right. So if you guys are following along, feel free to tag at Sketches.n.Scrubs on Instagram, and also at Etchr_lab on our socials. If you're interested to post it, or if you're too shy to post it in a whole wide world, you may also join our private Facebook group that is Etchr Studio Fam. Hold on, let me just grab that for you. There we go. It's a safe space for you to join. It's a wonderful art community. It's also where we'll be doing our Zoom community event this coming December 19th as part still of the 12 days of Etchr. And this is where you can also post your work. So yeah, it's a safe space for your art journey, whichever part of your art journey rather you are. So if you're a beginner, an advanced learner, yeah, there is an FB group. All right, let's see. I'm just quickly checking.
Hey,
Okay,
I'm
we're
back.
back.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't quite hear what you were saying. Did I miss?
No worries. I was
I
just
missed.
telling them to. I was just telling them to share their works. Slightly pushing and nudging, but just encouraging. Yeah.
No, definitely. It's nice to see how everyone will interpret this, especially as your reference is a painting of mine as opposed to like actually using a reference. So now what I want to do is start working on other layers, like on top, to start adding certain details. I think one of the things that I might do before that is actually paint in the house. You can use paint, you can draw it in, whichever one you want. I'm just using some of that ultramarine and quin magenta that we used before to just block in a rectangle right here. And there's like another tiny house next to it, just so that as it dries, we can do other things and other details as well. But yeah, as I say, there's no true rules to mixed media. There's only lots of experimentation and then some results that you'll like, some results that you may not like as much, and plenty of lessons.
For sure. Do you often also experience wanting specific parts only of the pieces that you make and just wishing that you could marry them all in one piece?
Yeah, it's so funny because we had a session just before this, and there are, quite often there'll be like paintings that I do where I really like certain parts, and other parts I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay, but
Yeah.
it's fine. I think especially because I don't have a plan a lot of the time. Like I paint, I guess, in what some would consider quite an intuitive way. So I just look at something and then see, I'm like, oh, okay, looking at this, for example, it's really nice, but it'd be nice to have more details in the trees in the background. So then I decide, let me add a few more details with slightly thicker paint. So we're working wet paint on dry paper so that everything's a little bit more precise. But by the nature of that, it means that it's unpredictable basically. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just doing like little, I guess, almost like pine tree kind of shapes. So starting off like triangles, I guess. And either side. And I think part of the reason that I'm painting so much is because watercolor and gouache are my, first loves. So I'm inclined, it's my comfort. But if for you, your comfort is, using markers, then, by all means start with markers and add those details with markers and then work with the other supplies as well. I think it's just a question of using what you enjoy as often as possible. I can see someone talking about Precious Sketchbook.
Yes, we were talking about the Etchr sketchbooks,
Oh yeah.
and it got to the conversation of the square ones, and I was telling them how it's a little harder for me to fill that sketchbook because, sometimes it's too perfect. The same topic we had earlier.
I have
Yes.
that same. I have that same thing with the Signature Series sketchbook. It's my
Oh
favorite
no.
sketchbook with beautiful paper, and I haven't yet like finished it because sometimes I just get too precious with it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to waste it
I
because,
know.
but I love the paper so much. So it's like, oh no, so much pressure for no reason. I think one of my goals for 2025 is just going to be to finish one, like come what may. I need to. Well,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I finished the hot press one, but again, because the cold press one is my favorite.
Don't we all feel that? I watched one of your videos when you talked about this, how sometimes we feel undeserving, our art feels undeserving of the materials, but that's what the materials were made of, the sketchbooks,
No,
the experiment. But yeah, we definitely understand it.
I know it's funny because it's literally that, like, the only wasted supplies are the supplies that you don't use, and yet sometimes it's we forget that and we just delay in using them. It's funny because I've made videos basically talking about sketchbooks that I don't like, which I have completed because I didn't like them. So I was like, oh, I just need to finish this paper as quickly as possible so that I can be done with it. Oddly enough, it did make me use my Etchr Everyday Sketchbook more because I was then really excited to keep creating, and I was like, I don't want to keep using the bad paper. I want to use the good paper. So that did kind of work.
Ooh, interesting question from Jude. What is the shelf life of cold press watercolor paper? Before I answer this, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it depends on a number of things.
Mhm.
It depends on the paper. It depends on the conditions in which the paper is kept. So I don't know. So I know some people will, attest to the fact that they bought paper 20 years ago and it's still fine. I feel like depending on the paper and like if, for example, you keep it somewhere where one day it's warm, the other day it's cold, or somewhere where there's a lot of moisture, then maybe in a couple of years the sizing on the paper will start to go and it won't be as good. But I think like that's another thing that really got me, I guess, motivated to start using my expensive paper more because I think there's maybe like 5 years if I've kept it well, 5, 10 years if I've kept it well. I don't know if you have any insights that you'd like to share about it.
Yeah, it's definitely just the same. It does depend on a lot of factors, like you've mentioned. Humidity is one. It's like the enemy of watercolor paper. Um, exposure to sun and those kinds of things. But for sketchbooks, I reckon that will be the least of your worries because you'd probably fill in the sketchbooks way faster than it expires or anything of that sort. So yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but for that reason, sometimes like when I buy paper, for example, and it's in the plastic, if I'm not ready to use it, I'm not taking it out of the plastic just to try and buy time, basically. But yeah. So just adding extra details. I'm still using watercolor as if this isn't supposed to be mixed media. So let me bring out some of the mixed media. And for me, it can be anything like pencils. So like for now, like for example, this is the Inktense pencils. And I don't think the brand or the pencil that you're using per se is what matters. It's more so like about what you want to do with it. So I find it easier to add finer details with the pencils. So I will do that. So I'm adding the roof to our little house, for example. I may also add a little fence behind the house as a line. So just adding those details. Then as I'm looking at this, I know that I want a little bit more detail and texture at the front. Snowy, so I'm going to use a pencil to just color across, and it's very faint, so you probably won't, you may not see it clearly, but that's just what I'm doing, so that it's like adding the extra shadows that we would have in the snow, and using pencil to do that because it won't fill in the total tooth of the paper, and I feel like that just makes it nicer and more interesting. And then I'm looking around at whatever other supplies I have that I may want to use as well. So if you have artist pip pens, for example, you can also use them to add tiny details.
Just a quick question.
Yeah,
is the paper damp where you were adding the pencil?
No.
Completely dry.
So this middle area here is dry and the trees are wet. So they're trying to dry, but everything else is just the trees that are wet at the moment and everything else is dry. So it's almost like I know that the paper is drying at different rates. So I like to put pencil on top of dry paper for the most part. Inktense pencils, or if you're using watercolor pencils, maybe you can use them and, reactivate them with water as well if you want. But for now, I'm just working in different parts of the paintings because of the fact that some of it is wet and some of it is dry. So that's a really good question. Does Etchr does samples? Yeah, they do have samples, like samples of the paper.
Ooh.
There are like quite inexpensive little sample sets that you can get if you want to see like all the different papers that come in the sketchbooks. Do you have a favorite sketchbook, Kathleen? Is it the square sketchbook? Is that why?
Oh, that is hard. That is one of the hardest questions. I would say just the A6 sized portrait sketchbooks.
Really?
The small, really small ones, just because I like bringing them in hikes and nature walks, and it's very portable. Yeah. But yeah, how about you? Do you also bring your sketchbooks outside?
I wish. I bring my sketchbook outside if that is like my intention. Like I wish, well, maybe you never know, 2025. Lots of dreams, hopes and plans for 2025. But maybe I'll start carrying a sketchbook every day. But no, I tend to carry a sketchbook if I know that I'm going to have time to create, or if I'm deliberately going to a park or going on going urban sketching or going on an art holiday or something like that, then I will bring my sketchbook, but not every day, not for the day-to-day. But I think that it's a good thing to do, because there are so many like little moments in time where you are waiting like for a bus or doing nothing, that you could be sketching instead.
That is true.
Just still adding these tiny details with like different pencils. And again, in part, yes, I'm looking at the reference that I have up here, but also I'm just looking and thinking like, oh, okay, if you're looking at your painting, you're like, oh, I want an extra house, then, you're painting your rules, add an extra house wherever you want it. Draw it in if you wish or if you want. That's the beauty. I'm using like a whole bunch of supplies right now, not because I think it is mandatory or necessary, but just so that you can see that, if there's a supply that you have, you can use it. Like if you have pen, like at the moment, I'm adding all these extra details in pen, you can use that. Or if you have a pencil, you can use that. It's a good excuse to bring out the supplies that, you've been neglecting on the side. And I think that depending on how you do it as well, because you may just be using it a little bit, it's a good way to break the seal, to use it without even thinking you're wasting it, because you're only doing a tiny detail with it.
Sorry.
Is that a question for me?
Yes. DC was asking, have you used a dagger brush? It seems very versatile. I bought one a while ago, was hard to find. Haven't really figured out how to use it though.
Yeah, I have used a dagger brush. I quite enjoy dagger brushes. I use them for my florals. I've made a video kind of talking about when I got it and when I used it because I felt like it kind of changed my art. So I had to think. I think this was actually with a round, so I think the best place to check would be on a video on there. But these are like florals that I've done. But the thing that's really nice about the dagger brush, I'm trying to think if any, no, I think all these were with rounds. But the thing that was really, and this is Etchr, by the way, I just painted the cover.
Beautiful.
The thing that's really nice about the dagger is that you can use it to make like lots of different marks. But initially, when I got it, and I said that in the video as well, it kind of felt like I was painting with my left hand. It felt like a bit unusual to paint that way. I'm going to put in the fence now, so little tiny posts. But I think a good way to get past that is to do a few brush drills where you just try to do a certain shape and see the different shapes that you can do with the brush, and then also trying to create maybe one piece but using just that one brush. So then you have to be creative with all the marks and things that you want to do, and you have to figure it out, and you do that until it feels a little bit more comfortable. But they're nice because the shape naturally leans itself well to painting leaves, for example, and then you can like have it right on the edge and you can use it to paint details, but then you can also get big broad strokes. It's very versatile. It's a nice and fun brush shape to play with. So yeah, I have in answer to your question, I have used it. Yeah, I think I can't remember what exactly I called the video, but you'll see I used a dagger brush, a sword brush, and it's funny because I feel like it does change the way that my art looks. Ever so slightly. I'm painting in the fence. Always feels bold to paint something and then go over it with something so striking. But it's good, it adds depth. And please, if I've missed any questions, by all means, feel free to let me know. I normally am better at looking at the chat, but then I paint slower, so it's a mixture. Oh, I can see Colleen's asking, what has been your favorite Etchr supplies, including carrying supplies? So my favorite Etchr supplies are the sketchbooks, namely the Everyday Sketchbook and the Signature Series sketchbooks. The size that I love is B5, which is like the bigger one. But that being said, I use all the sizes, and like if I'm traveling, I tend to use the A5 size, which is slightly smaller. So they are my favorites, as well as the postcards. I guess because they are the same paper, so that makes sense. But I really like the postcards because like sometimes, they're smaller, less pressure. And you get I like the set that come with 100. So I feel like, again, I have so many that I can just use them to create nice little pieces of art. And so I would group them together as my favorites. And then in terms of, are you asking me like my favorite from the carry range as in separate, or have I answered the question?
Including, so that might, I think you may have answered the questions, but out of curiosity, what would be, what would that be if you have like a favorite out of the carry range?
It's so funny because that's such a hard question for me. I keep going. Like I can't figure it out. In fact, one time I was like, okay, for 1 month I'm only going to use the field case. For 1 month I'm only going to use the nano satchel. For 1 month I'm only going to use the Etchr Slate Mini to try and figure out which one's my favorite. And I honestly, I still don't know. I feel like the one that I use the most is the field case. I use the field case all the time. because I can have it. I can just have it like in my home and use it to have my supplies and paint on the couch, or so the field case is the one that I use the most. But then also, and I don't know, and I feel like when I am traveling, I like that the nano satchel is smaller, obviously, so it makes it easier. But then I also, because I use bigger sketchbooks, I guess I tend to take the slate with me more.
I
So I guess in terms of order, it would probably be field case, uh, mini satchel, and then nano. I think in terms of use, but you could ask me tomorrow, and and the order may be different.
Okay, I see people agreeing with the field case. Definitely a useful one. Let's see. And also somebody was saying how covering or painting the sketchbook might be a lot scarier than actually filling in the sketchbook.
I have a question. Do people paint it before they fill in the sketchbook or after?
Yeah.
Because I was kind of worried about that as well. I was like, oh, what if I mess it up and I've like got all my favorite paintings on the inside, or do I just paint it first and get them all ready?
Yeah, sometimes it kind of sets the mood if I paint it. I had like one experience with that. I painted a sketchbook with a tree, and all of those inside, I was so pressured to paint everything trees.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen. I've just kind of told myself that I will paint them different. I will paint them like abstract like this, more likely than not. But just different colors. So I have like a blue one, I'll do a green one, I'll just do them colored like that. I'm not usually the type who would decorate my own things. Like I don't decorate my sketchbooks with stickers or anything like that. So I was actually quite apprehensive about decorating it myself. I was like, oh no, I don't want to. I put it off for a very long time. But then I did it and it was fine. So, in fact, I made two videos talking about how to decorate it yourself, just in case you want to do it as well, because I'd actually thought it was going to be a lot harder, hence putting it off for so long. I'm just using the Pip pen to add extra details. I'm wondering if there's anything I should add to this. It's funny because last time I was doing a live stream and I asked people what I should add. They told me to add a penguin, which I did. Oh. Which I did. But then, from then we just laughed about the fact it made no sense to have a penguin in this kind of setting or scenario. But that is pretty much it. So I'm just adding little tufts of grass coming through in the snow, and then sometimes I also like using like near colors, so basically like crayons to add extra pops of color and keep it.
Love that it's a golden vibe. The yellow streaks that you placed near the cottage and just like leveling off the distance, that's just a yellow paint, right? Or
yeah, so back here it's all yellow paint, and then this line here is pencil, and here is paint and then pencil. So sometimes it's just like me trying to add different versions of the colors that I see, and then extra details, and then I want to add some gold.
Okay, let's see. I guess most of us have more experiences with accidentally painting their sketchbooks.
Yeah, I sealed mine with PVA glue so that it's waterproof afterwards, to try and keep it safe, So just adding some Etchr gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because it's actually funny because although the sketchbooks are my favorite Etchr supplies, if you were to look back on my art, you would see that I wasn't using gold at all. And then I did a video where Etchr sent me the golden palette, and I used the gold in that video. And from that video onwards, my art changed, and almost all my florals then had gold. So it completely changed things for me. So I'm also going to add like the blades of grass but in gold, because why not? And some of this is like super subtle, so we probably won't even be able to see it when it's flat, but then when the light hits it, you'll be able to see that actually there are hints of metallic there.
Someone was saying how fingers are the best for blending. I think
Yeah.
they've noticed.
As you can see, that's literally what I'm doing. It's and it's nice sometimes to just like soften things, and also sometimes just like give a bit of motion to what you've created and make them less prominent. And then so I'm looking at the painting and seeing if there's any like extra details that I want to add, and if anyone has any, suggestions, I'm always open to listening, adding a few gold splatters, because why not?
Yeah. Someone was mentioning how once you started with the gold and shine, there is no way back.
Honestly, beforehand I was like, no, I don't like metallics, don't use metallics. And then I literally I painted with them and I really liked it. And you can literally see like my paintings, like my floral paintings before and after. So these are like all here is gold, for example. All these bits are like the gold watercolors, and all the way through I've done like a whole video with the sketchbook tour from this, so it's got a range of different things. But yeah, so I think close second favorite would be the golden palette, because I just love the golds in it, and to me it's like it's wild that it's watercolor but it almost looks opaque. I really like that set, so that would be like a really close close second favorite. Wonder if last time we had a cheat, but I feel like we're pretty much coming to a close. I'm just adding like tiny little details, but also trying to tell myself not to overwork it. Delicate balance.
Definitely. I think that's one of the hardest things to
know. How are we doing for time?
We are 43 minutes in for the whole live stream, but
43?
I think people
My
43,
bad.
yes. But
yeah, okay.
speaking till the end because they're eager to win that voucher.
That giveaway. Okay, fine. In which case, does anyone have questions? I'm literally pretty much done. I'm just adding like another fence post, but that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And I am right by saying that we are going to win this piece. Right. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. So if you guys have any suggestions,
a little bit. So if it's slightly different when you get it in the post, don't be alarmed.
Oh, okay. All right. Personalized. All right. Gold is superior to metallics. Let us know if you have any questions. How do you know when you're done with a piece? Yes, we asked the same question.
I know I'm done with the piece when I know that I guess it's when I'm happy with it and there's no extra details that I want to add.
Right.
And that's pretty much where I'm done. There was a phase in time where I was kind of like where I sometimes felt like I was playing it a bit too safe and finishing too early. So then what I started doing was painting two pieces at the same time that would look almost the same. And one I could stop where I felt actually this is safe and I'm happy. And the other one I got to keep going. And because I had another piece, it's not like I would feel like, oh, I ruined it. I wish I had stopped when. So sometimes if you struggle with knowing when to finish, and you have the time and the will, that can be a helpful thing to do. Just do two of the same paintings at the same time. Whoops, sorry, I kicked my camera.
Yeah. And if I may add to that, I think someone mentioned to me before that if you have built enough contrast in your piece and you think that there's just not much contrast that you want to add, you can add, I think that's also like a good point of knowing if you,
if you
are
finish.
going to stop. Yeah. Right. What else we have?
In terms of the I could see someone asking me about gold watercolors. The only ones I've used are the the Etchr golden set is the one that I used. They're not, the colors aren't available open stock. So what I did was basically started with one gold, finished it, moved to the next gold, moved to the next gold, and the next gold, and the next gold. And I think I'm on my 5th or 6th gold. And then the rest of the colors are like bronzes. And then I'll start again, start with my first, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, shall we do do you want to do the giveaway? I feel like
yes.
I feel bad for overrunning for you guys. Sorry.
Don't be. I think we are all just too. Oops. My bad. I lost. There we go. All right. I will be sharing screen again, and we'll get us back first. So that was a beautiful piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Let me just pull up the screen for that giveaway tool that we have prepared.
As you do that, I can answer some of the questions that I can see. So where do I get inspiration from? I get inspiration from if you mean like literally like in life, then nature. If you mean like in general, like practically, I tend to like look at references from like Unsplash, and quite often what I'll do is if I see references that I like, I will either screenshot them or save them to a folder so that if any time I'm lacking inspiration, don't know what to paint, don't know what to draw, I can just go to my like inspiration folder and then just draw and paint from there without thinking about it. So yeah, if anyone like asked any questions and I missed it, sorry, I wasn't really looking, then please feel free to drop the message again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Virginia. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Patricia and Joanna. Thank you. This is all really sweet. I really appreciate your kind words.
You've got some early birds from your Discord group, I believe. So you've brought in a lot of audience.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. Are we all for Independence Day? Awesome. All right. Before we answer some of those questions, I'll be explaining the mechanics for the giveaway because this is the most exciting part. Apart from so I will be typing the word "go" later in the chat, and what we need you guys to do is to type in the word Etchr Gold, but don't type anything just yet. Type it after I sent the word "go," and when I say type the word "stop," that is all of those comments will be included. So I'll be giving you 30 seconds for that. Okay, and I guess we are good to go. Begin. All right. So while we're waiting, if there are any other questions, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I can answer questions as you do. I can see. Oh, thank you. So I can see Becky mentioned. So I have a YouTube channel that's Sketches.n.Scrubs, but I also have an art membership, and that's how people have been able to join my Discord basically. So I do like live Zoom sessions and live streams and art challenges and just a really lovely community of artists, and we all get together and get to talk about our love of art and our love of art supplies in honesty. So yeah, so if anyone's interested, then they can definitely come and check me out and join, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and you'll have a good time. Especially if, like me, you don't tend to have like real life physical art friends. We've basically created a community of like virtual art friends, basically.
That is the most amazing thing, I think, after all of this, pandemic thing that happened. It's one of the most amazing things for us to be able to get into this new normal, for us to really connect from people across the globe. And thank you for giving one of those platforms for people to really get together. So
thank you. No, it's honestly, it's been wonderful to have it, really. Like,
awesome.
and
okay,
Virginia, you enter it by putting in #Etchr Gold.
Yeah,
Virginia, yeah, definitely the best community. It's just like really nice. I'm obviously biased, but I do feel very blessed to have that community to turn to. So
yeah. Oh, can't spell ultra. I know that it wasn't to kind of for you guys to take your time. All right. I think
the only other thing I should say, sorry,
yes.
I just remembered, is
No
that we're
worries.
doing 2 giveaways. So I think that it was for the artwork, it can probably this first giveaway is for the Etchr voucher, but then for the artwork, it can't be for EU or Canada. I think it's UK only, and that's just because I think Canada is having a postal strike, and for other reasons, I can't send into EU anymore because I'm in the UK.
No worries. Thank you for bringing that up again. Okay, I guess we'll be choosing 2 winners today. And
so maybe we do this first one for everyone, and then we do like a second one with a second word for others, just so that someone doesn't get picked and then actually they can't get the prize. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let us know. Okay, I will just type in, or draw rather, this first winner. And the first winner, are you guys excited? Because I am. Okay. First winner would be, da, 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 da. Oh, this is so cute.
I feel like it's so good as well. Oh, P. Barmy. Congratulations.
Congratulations, P. Barmy. And what we need you to do is to send us an email at hello@etchrlab.com. Tell the lovely customer support people, there that you've won the giveaway for the voucher for Etchr Lab supplies. And for the next one, okay, maybe we can go back and maybe we can just let them type in, what do you call this? I'm sorry. Bear with me. So you can only ship to Canada,
UK.
right?
No, UK. Yeah.
UK. There we go. My brain is fogging. Starting to. Christmas fog is like forming here. Okay. Maybe let's just decide on using the word #UK for the next draw. Okay. And I will set that up. You're almost going live. So type in #UK after the word go. So that is, and that is if you are based in the UK. So we can make it easier for everybody. So if you're not in the area, probably for now, lie low. And we'll be giving you, or you guys could send us your, or not send, but share rather, your works on social media as well. So I'm going to be flashing Sketches and Scrubs Instagram handle again. Germany. Oh no, you have to type in hashtag UK to actually get to the draw. Okay, let's see. Asia team. I know. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm from Asia as well. Let's see. Okay. Good luck, everyone. Okay. You have to type in hashtag UK. Italy. Oh, it's okay. Okay. Hashtag UK. All right, I see.
I love Italy. Whereabouts are you? I love Italy. It's one of my favorite places to go.
Beautiful, beautiful place. Okay. All right. I think we can stop. Okay, I'll include Jude's answer. All right. I think that's about it. Not a problem. Okay. And we are going to draw in 3, 2, 1. And while we're doing that, PBarmy, send us an email at hello@etchrlab.com. And the winner is
Congratulations!
Small Art Society. That's a wonderful YouTube handle, by the way.
Yeah.
Yay! Congratulations for winning Sketches.n.Scrubs original work. Feel free to send her a message if you want a penguin as well in your piece, I guess. All right. Thank you so much. All right. If you guys have questions that we have missed, again, feel free to type them here before we end the session. But while we're waiting for some of those questions that we have missed or might have missed, do you want to give some parting words before we close the session, Sketches.n.Scrubs?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to thank everyone for coming and for taking part in the live stream, but also the demo. If you have created artwork and you would like to share it, I would love to see it. I'd like to thank Etchr for inviting me on and also for, making me a UK ambassador. I love it. And yeah, I'd just like to encourage you to use the supplies that you have. You are worth it. Your art is worth it. I really hope that you enjoy it. And if there's anything that you need help with, or you have questions, or you aren't really sure, then I'm always happy to answer questions, and you can feel free to reach out to me at Sketches.n.Scrubs on my YouTube channel or in my art membership or my Instagram. I'm very approachable, so that's pretty much it. Use your supplies. And thank you.
I think we can entertain one last question, which I think we have missed earlier. So that was, how do you choose a color palette and limit to how many?
Oh, as in like when created a limited color palette, I'm assuming is the question.
I think they're referring to the colors you choose when you're
when I'm actually painting. In honesty, usually I don't think about my color palette very much beforehand. I wish I could say. So you can probably see in my paintings, I'm not using much of it, like this one. For by all means, no limited palette really. I do have a palette that I tend to like, like colors that I tend to like and be drawn to. And usually what that will be for me is, if I were to advise on how to pick one, it would be to focus on the colors that you are trying to mix and the colors that you like. So for example, I don't tend to have a lot of warm reds in my artwork, so because I don't tend to usually have many oranges. So because I know that I like mixing purples and these kind of colors, I will think of like reds that lean towards that, so like a pinky red. I will then also have like a warm yellow, again because I know that they work well together. But ultimately, I guess I tend to think about the colors that I want to mix, and that is what usually informs me when it comes to creating a limited palette, to essentially ensure that I'm not making mud. So what that means is basically that I'm not then making neutral colors. So say, for example, if I know that I want purples, my limited palette will contain like a warm blue, which is like an ultramarine, a purpley blue, and it will also include a pinky red. But I wouldn't pick a purple because I know that a purple and a yellow will then make like a brownie neutral color, which is not what I want. So I hope that helps.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think I just would like to highlight this from Angel Lettering. Use your best art supplies. You deserve it. Thank you
I
so much.
completely agree. Excellent
Awesome.
sentiment. But yeah, thank you so much, Kathleen, for hosting as well. I just saw someone say, yeah, I keep saying thank you, Etchr, but actually thank you for hosting and also for your kind words on Instagram when you've messaged me.
And thank you as well for gracing this wonderful session with us. It's been a wonderful time with you, doing this with you, and I believe everyone would attest to that. So if you guys have, again, would like to share your work, feel free to tag us on social media or join us on our private Facebook group if you'd wish to, for a more private space for you to share your work. I will flash that on the screen. So that's a safe space for you to join your works and join and post your works rather. Otherwise, you can feel free to just tag Sketches.n.Scrubs on Instagram so that she can see your work. And yeah, so really excited to see all of your works. And with that, thank you so much again, everyone, for sticking with us till the end. And until next time, make more art, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.